joining us in his weekly slot this morning, of course, is New Zealand Herald editor-at-large and inside media columnist Shayne Currie. Shayne, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Good to see you. What's going on with Simon Dallow?
Yeah, well, it's been speculated for some time now that Simon, after 20 years fronting the 6 o'clock TVNZ news, would be stepping down at some stage. And as I understand it, and reporting this morning, TVNZ is ready to make some announcements in the next few weeks that will see Simon step away from the newsreading role, perhaps as early as early next year, or midway through the year. And so we'll find out in the next few weeks exactly the time frame for that. And as I understand it, what they've been discussing is that Simon does still stay attached to TVNZ, perhaps in a part-time role, attached to the Bulletin. He is a renowned broadcaster, obviously. He's been in our living rooms for more than 2 decades. And even though, you know, we've all moved to streaming and we're watching news in different ways now, the TVNZ 6 o'clock Bulletin is still drawing a huge audience. And so I think TVNZ still wants to keep as much of Simon present as possible, and that could be in a correspondent role, perhaps an interview series, but giving him some presence anyway, attached to that bulletin.
What about, so I'm assuming this will mean they'll put Melissa Stokes in there?
Well, Melissa is certainly winning by a large margin our poll that we have on nzherald.co this morning, and we've got about 12 options there. She, of course, is very familiar to audiences of that bulletin. She's the weekend newsreader, and she has been doing a great job. I think she's built up her reputation and stature. But there are other options. Obviously, there's Jack Tame and Daniel Faitaua, who are in the newsroom at TVNZ right now. And there's also the possibility of an outsider coming in. You've got Samantha Hayes, who's over at 3 News, and you have Mike McRoberts, who's gone to NBR. So you know them very well.
Well, the past is used by date is Mike.
Oh,
I wouldn't put that back on camera.
You'll be hearing from him this morning.
Hey, North and South magazine is struggling. You know, their former stablemate Metro also has had struggles we know about, but North and South too.
That's right, and I guess it's symptomatic of what we're seeing across the media industry at the moment, where there is a battle for advertising revenue. North and South stopped printing its magazine about a year ago, and its owner, School Road Publishing, said at the time that it hoped to be back publishing the magazine in conjunction with the website next month. Unfortunately, that plan has been put on hold. I've spoken to Greg Partington for today's column. He talks about the difficulties just drawing enough advertising revenue to bring it back to life. He's still hopeful that it will happen, but it is a struggle. And as you say, Metro magazine had announced this week that it was losing its 4 full-time staff and going to a kind of a contracting model for the foreseeable future.
Right. Now, what's your take on the BSA thing? Is this the BS? Because 2 years ago in their annual report, they said we don't have jurisdiction over this, over podcasts, and this is your Sean Plunkett story. And now they're saying, oh, we might. Is this just a play to get the government to do something, or what? Yeah,
that's my reading of it. As I've reflected on it in the last 2 or 3 days, I've got a piece commenting on it this morning where it is a rogue move. I've called it a rogue move, and I think there is a strategy behind it, even though they were quite clumsy and ham-fisted in the way they've gone about it. I don't think process has been very good in the way that they've approached it this week. However, they have been advocating for some time for legislative change and to sort out this mess that we have at the moment, where we have several regulators. Some people are regulated, some aren't, some is voluntary, some isn't. And so the BSA, I think, has taken it upon itself to sort of make the point that if the government's not going to make changes here, it'll take on some of these online platforms themselves and perhaps make a point.
It's crazy though. How do you? It's if a podcaster looks like a legitimate news service. I mean, that could be anyone and everyone.
Totally. And so right now, Sean Plunkett is being targeted. But it could just as easily be a platform that's run by a left-wing blogger or somebody else.
But they can't regulate that, Shayne. Can they?
Yeah, well, the government certainly tried to bring in legislation and has a media reforms package which would see an overall super regulator in New Zealand. It's kind of the framework for that is still reasonably loose, based on the freedom of speech principles, and so that was being put on the back burner by the government. Paul Goldsmith may well now bring it forward in terms of priorities, given what's happening here with the BSA. But regardless of the structure, there will still be that debate about who and what is covered. Social media at the moment is a wild west, of course.
Yeah.
How the hell do you regulate that? That's a battle for another day.
Exactly. Hey, good to see you, Shayne. We'll look forward to today's column as always. That's Shayne Currie from the Herald.